the hands wrapping around the warm mug at 6 in the morning, the first sip before the world has fully woken, the small click of relief in the chest because something is finally moving inside the body again. And then, by mid-afternoon, the dull ache behind the eyes, the heaviness in the legs that was not there before, the sleep that comes thin and breaks at 3 in the morning for no reason you can name. If you want to understand why your body is no longer thanking you for the morning coffee the way it once did, do not look at the caffeine and do not look at the acid in the cup. Look instead at something the old grandmothers of my village understood 70 years before any researcher carried a clipboard. Hello, my dear. What I am about to share with you matters because the mornings still ahead of you, the mornings where you wake and walk into the kitchen and put on the small kettle and greet the day on your own 2 feet, depend on choices most women your age have never been told to question. The slow morning is yours. The capacity to bend down in the garden and pick a tomato from the vine without your back betraying you, that is yours too. But it does not stay yours by accident. Most doctors will not warn you about this. They have 8 minutes with you. Coffee does not appear on any prescription pad. The harm I am about to describe builds quietly across years, not weeks. You will hear it from a grandmother instead. And what you do with what I tell you could quietly rewrite the next 20 years of your life. My name is Ayiko Tanaka. For more than 60 years now, I have cared for the women of my mountain village outside Kyoto, in a small place called Ohara, where the persimmons hang drying on the porches in autumn and the morning fog settles in the valley before the sun reaches us. My grandmother taught me kampo, the old herbal medicine and the fermented foods, and the small kitchen remedies passed down through more generations of our family than I can count. She used to tell me the belly is the second heart. The belly decides whether the body sleeps. The belly decides whether the bones stay strong. The belly decides whether the mind stays clear when the years grow heavy. Everything begins there. The young scientists in their white coats are now finding what she taught me when I was 8 years old, kneeling beside her in the garden. The gut, they call it, regulates immunity, inflammation, the hormones, the sleep. The old grandmothers of our village simply called it the seat of life. In my village, the grandmothers reach 85, 90, 95. They walk to the small shrine in the morning. They prepare their own tea. They tend their own small gardens. And in all the years I have watched them, watched 5 generations of our women now, I have rarely seen the trembling hands, the racing heart at night, the small panic at 3 in the morning that I see when families bring their American mothers to me in their 70s. The difference, my daughter, lies in what we drink and when we drink it. There is one practice I will share with you near the end that 9 out of 10 Western women get backwards. They have replaced their coffee with something they believe is gentler. The replacement quietly does the same harm in a softer disguise. The order of what I am about to share also matters. Each habit builds on the one before. The most important piece is the last one. Before we go further, I would like to ask you something. Leave a comment below. Tell me your age and tell me how many cups of coffee you drink in a day right now and the time of your last cup. I read every single comment on this channel, and the answers you share teach me what to make next. The women who write to me shape every video I record from this small kitchen. So please, before you forget, scroll down and write to me. In this video, I am going to share with you the 4 cups my village has been drinking for 1,000 years in place of coffee, the morning sequence the old grandmothers follow before they ever lift a kettle, what the laboratories have now confirmed about the false fire that depletes the kidneys after 50, and the master practice, the single most important habit I can give you after 70. Along the way, I will tell you about a woman from Charleston who came to study with me last spring whose hands stopped trembling within 3 weeks, and a woman from Iowa who found her mornings had returned to her after a single ritual practiced quietly each day. Stay with me. A small favor before we continue. If you have not already, would you tap the subscribe button below? It is a small thing, 2 seconds. So many of the women who write to me say they thought they had already done it. And every quiet tap helps these old village teachings reach another grandmother who needs them. In Ohara, the morning begins with hot water. Plain hot water, drunk slowly, while the mind is still soft and the body is finding its way back into the day. After the hot water, there is hojicha, our roasted green tea. After that, perhaps a small bowl of miso soup, the broth our grandmothers have prepared every morning for 1,000 years. By the time the sun is fully up, the women of my village have given the body three things, and none of them race the heart or pull at the kidneys. I have watched this morning unfold for 60 years. The women who keep the rhythm reach 90 with clear eyes and calm hands. The women who switch to coffee in their 40s, the way the West teaches, develop the trembling, the broken sleep, the soft bones much sooner. The pattern is unmistakable. My grandmother used to teach me that the body has two great wells of strength. The first well sits in the belly, the seat of the second heart. The second well sits in the kidneys. In our tradition, the kidneys are the seat of long life. They hold the deep reserves of vitality the body must draw on through the slow years after 50. Coffee, my dear, pulls directly from this well. The old kampo teachers had a name for what coffee does to the body. They called it false fire. It feels like warmth. It feels like energy. The brightness, however, is being borrowed from somewhere, and the loan must be repaid. Every morning cup is a small withdrawal from the well of the kidneys. In a young woman, the well runs deep and the withdrawal does not show. After 50, the well runs shallower and every withdrawal echoes. The trembling hands are the echo. The thin sleep is the echo. The afternoon collapse, the cold feet at night, the small panic that wakes you at 3 in the morning, all of it is the echo of a borrowing that was never repaid. The bacteria living in the belly, the small community my grandmother called the second heart, do most of the work that keeps a woman alive after 50. The laboratories are now confirming what we have watched for 10 generations. After the age of 50, the diversity of these bacteria begins to thin sharply, and by 70, in many Western women, the original strains have been reduced by 60 to 70%. The garden the body once carried is half empty. And here is what the old kitchens understood that the modern kitchens forgot. A garden needs three things together to bloom. It needs the seed, the soil, and the rain. The bacteria are the seed. The fiber, what the laboratories now call prebiotic, is the soil. And the bacteria themselves produce small healing compounds, what the laboratories call postbiotics, which act like the rain on the garden floor. Postbiotics, in plain language, are the medicine the bacteria leave behind once they have eaten. All three must arrive together. One alone does very little. The young researchers also came to our village some years ago to measure the cortisol, the stress hormone, in women who drank coffee daily and women who did not. And the laboratories are now confirming what the old kampo teachers said about the false fire. The cortisol in our women stayed quiet through the late afternoon and into the evening. In Western women of the same age who took their coffee every morning, the cortisol stayed elevated for 14 and sometimes 16 hours after that single morning cup. My grandmother only smiled when I told her this. She said, "Yes, my daughter, that is the false fire. The young scientists have given a number to what we have watched for centuries." Let me pause here for a moment. The women who come to me ask almost every week what they can take to support the belly while they make these changes. Everything we have spoken of traces back to that second heart my grandmother named. What I have come to recommend, after watching it work for many of the women in my care, is a small daily kombucha gummy called BoochBod. It carries the three things a tired garden needs together: the probiotic strains called lactospore and postbiotics LM1004, the prebiotic fiber that feeds them, and the postbiotics, the small healing compounds the bacteria leave behind. It also carries dandelion root, the very root my grandmother dug from the slopes at the edge of our village garden, and slippery elm. Over 30,000 women take it now, and they tell me the difference. It is a gummy, not a pill, which matters for older throats. The link is in the description below this video, and please speak to your doctor before starting any supplement. Now let me give you the 4 cups in order. The first is hot water, plain hot water taken before anything else touches the lips. The grandmothers of my village call this the gentle waking. It wakes the digestion and warms the belly without the false fire. The water touches the kidneys gently and never pulls on them. Drink it slowly, sitting down while the kettle still steams beside you. The temperature should be warm enough to feel in the chest, but soft enough that the tongue is not burned, perhaps 160 degrees. In my own kitchen, I hold the small cup in both hands and watch the morning light before I have spoken a single word to anyone. The second cup is hojicha. This is our roasted green tea, and it differs from the bitter green teas the West knows. The roasting changes its nature. It becomes warm, it becomes grounding, and the caffeine inside it is so soft that even my 90-year-old neighbors drink it through the day without trouble. Hojicha steadies the hara, the belly center. It helps the body absorb the morning meal. 1 cup drunk after the hot water is enough. The third cup is for the afternoon. It is mujika, the roasted barley tea. There is no caffeine in it at all. It is the cup our women reach for at 2 in the afternoon when the morning hours have begun to fade and the legs grow tired from the small standing tasks of the day. Mujicha carries minerals to the kidneys that the morning hours have used up, and it cools the body in summer the way the old fans never could. We brew it cold in the warm months in a clay pot in the cold box. I think of Frances, a woman from Charleston, South Carolina, a retired librarian who came to study with me last spring. She had been drinking 4 cups of coffee a day for 40 years. Her hands had begun to tremble so much that pouring her own tea had become embarrassing. What had been overlooked by everyone she had spoken to was that her kidneys were running on borrowed light. She replaced the morning coffee with hot water and hojicha, and the afternoon coffee with mujicha. Within 3 weeks, her hands had quieted enough to pour her own kettle again. By the 7th week, her resting heart rate had dropped by 22%. She wrote to me, "Ayiko-san, my mornings feel like mine again." And now we arrive at the most important piece, the one I have saved for the end because it is the practice that holds all the others together. The morning bowl of miso soup. The grandmothers of my village have been drinking this small bowl every morning for as long as anyone can remember. It is a quiet daily medicine taken almost without thinking, and that is exactly why it works. The body that receives a small healing every single morning becomes a different body than the one that waits for the once-a-month tonic. Miso is made from soybeans that have been fermented slowly with koji, a small living culture, sometimes for many months. What this means in plain language is that the protein has already been broken down by the time it reaches your belly. The body does not have to work to absorb it. The fermented broth carries living bacteria into the second heart, and it carries the small healing compounds, the postbiotics the laboratories now study, that the bacteria have already produced inside the jar. It also carries the minerals the kidneys lose through the night. 1 small bowl in the morning is the closest thing to a daily transfusion of vitality that a kitchen can give you. There is a reason the women of Okinawa who have eaten this bowl every morning of their lives hold the highest concentration of women past 100 years old anywhere on Earth. Here's the most important part. The miso must not be boiled. The moment the broth boils, the living culture dies, and what is left is only flavor. Heat the dashi broth, the small fish stock, until it just begins to steam. Take the pot off the fire. Then stir in 1 heaping tablespoon of miso paste, slowly, with a wooden spoon, never with metal. Drink it within 10 minutes while the culture is still alive. The Japanese kitchens have known this for 1,000 years. The modern researchers confirmed it only recently when they measured the bacterial counts in boiled and unboiled miso and found that the boiled bowl carried almost nothing alive at all. For those of you who are watching your blood pressure or your sodium intake, please speak to your doctor before adding daily miso to your routine. The salt is real even if the medicine is greater. There are also low-sodium misos sold now in the better Asian markets, and these can be a gentle starting place. I think of Ruth, a woman from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, a retired school teacher who came to me 3 years ago. She had stopped sleeping. The afternoon collapse had become a daily collapse. She had tried the supplements, the relaxation tapes, the prescription her doctor had finally written. Nothing had moved her sleep. What was overlooked was that her belly had been running on coffee and toast for 40 years, and the second heart had grown thin. She started 1 bowl of warm miso every morning, prepared the old way, alongside the hot water and the hojicha. By the 2nd month, she was sleeping 6 hours through the night for the first time since her 60s. By the 4th month, her fasting glucose had dropped by 18%, and she had stopped waking at 3 in the morning entirely. She told me, "Ayiko-san, the mornings are slow again. I sit with my tea before the sun, and I am not afraid of the day." After 60 years of watching what works in the bodies of women your age, here are 3 small things most women miss. Number 1 is the temperature of your morning water. Cold water shocks the kidneys, especially in autumn and winter. The water must be warm enough that it disappears into the chest. If you can still feel it in your throat, it was too cold. Number 2 is timing. Whatever you give the body before 9 in the morning sets the rhythm for the day. The cortisol your body produces in those early hours is already enough to wake you. The first cup of coffee is the betrayal that turns natural waking into borrowed waking. Number 3 is the small bowl of miso. Make a fresh batch of dashi every Sunday and keep it in a glass jar in the cold box. 5 minutes on Sunday gives you 7 mornings of medicine. Now let me share the 3 mistakes I see most often when women try to make this change. Mistake 1. They quit coffee all at once. The body that has been drinking coffee for 40 years has built its rhythm around the false fire. To remove it suddenly is to remove the scaffold. Reduce by 1/4 cup each week. The kidneys need time to remember how to make their own light again. Mistake 2. They replace coffee with bitter green tea bags from the supermarket. The cold, bitter green teas, especially after 50, are hard for the older body to digest. Hojicha is roasted and it is gentle. Mugicha is the next choice. Many women reach for matcha as a coffee replacement after 50, and this is a mistake. Matcha is often a stronger fire than the coffee it replaced. Mistake 3. They drink the miso in the evening. The miso must come with the morning meal when the body is opening for the day. Evening miso disturbs the night water of the kidneys. The grandmothers always drank it before 9 in the morning. Sit with me for one more moment, my daughter. What we have spoken of today is not really about coffee. It is about the mornings ahead of you. It is about waking at 6 and walking on your own 2 feet to the kettle and feeling the warm cup in your hands without a tremble. It is about hearing the small voice of your granddaughter at the door on a Sunday morning and rising to meet her, slowly, but rising. It is about the slow garden in the afternoon, the persimmon you reach up and pick yourself, the small bowl of miso you can still prepare with your own hands when you are 90. The body can heal at 70. It can heal at 75. It can heal at 80. The well of the kidneys can be slowly refilled by what you choose to put in your cup tomorrow morning. It is never too late. You are the one who decides what goes into the body each morning. No one else stands at your kettle. Let me lock this in for you, my dear. 1. Begin every morning with hot water, plain and warm, before anything else touches the lips. This is how the body wakes without the false fire. 2. After the water, drink 1 cup of hojicha, our roasted green tea, to steady the belly and prepare the body for food. 3. Replace the afternoon coffee with mujika, the roasted barley tea, to carry minerals to the tired kidneys. 4. With your morning meal, take 1 small bowl of warm miso, never boiled, to feed the second heart and the bacteria that keep it alive. If these old village teachings have given you something today, would you do one small thing? Subscribe so I can keep finding you? Send this video to your sister or your oldest friend or the woman in your life who has held a coffee cup in her hand every morning for 30 years and has begun to notice the trembling. And in the comments, tell me which of the 4 cups you will start with tomorrow morning. I read every single comment on this channel, and the women who write to me decide what I record next from this small kitchen. The link to the BoochBod Gummies is in the description whenever you feel ready to take a look. Until next time, my daughter, drink slowly, sleep deeply. The mornings ahead of you are still many.